Back in 2021, me and my friend were planning out our own cinematic universe. Not only were we completely writing out these stories, we were also planning on making them real fan films. We had ideas for both DC and Marvel, but eventually we realized that unless we started pimping ourselves out in the streets, there was no way we could afford making high-budget superhero movies. So what did we do? We pimped ourselves out in the street, but after attracting 0 customers, we changed our approach. It turns out that street-level characters are much easier to fund than Iron Man or the Hulk, which is why we pivoted to working on the street-level Marvel fan film cinematic universe, or the SLMFCU for short. I doubt anyone has been watching long enough to remember, but I actually made some videos announcing this way back when the channel first started. Of course, it didn't end up happening. It actually became the Beyondverse, which also didn't end up happening, but developing this universe might have been what sparked my love for the street level side of Marvel. Since Born Again Season 2 just came out, I thought, why not revisit that old universe and give my updated ideas on what a street level MCU would look like. This is the street level MCU. We're going to start off with a project that a few of you may already be familiar with. Daredevil Judgment Day is of course a Marvel Beyondverse project. It was actually the most well-received one if I had to guess. But I have a feeling that a lot of people watching this have no clue what the Beyondverse is, and Judgment Day came out like 2 or 3 years ago, so we're still going to run through this plot. Ultimately, this movie would be about Matt Murdock's internal struggle regarding his role as a vigilante, and whether he's aiding the system or furthering the cycle of violence. This also heavily bleeds into his religious life. The film opens with a young Matt Murdock in confession with Father Lantom. Matt confesses to fighting a bully and breaking his legs, and the priest responds by saying that humans aren't meant to be punishers. That job lies with God and will be carried out on Judgment Day. The main plot involves Melvin Potter seeking legal help from Nelson and Murdock after being framed for mass murder. Police found him as the sole survivor in an apartment building filled with massacred civilians, and quickly assumed he was the killer due to his past as the villain known as Gladiator. But Melvin claims that the killing was done by a ghost. Matt suits up in his all-black homemade suit and investigates the massacre at the apartment complex, where he meets the ghost, Bullseye. I know that Kingpin is Matt's archenemy, but Bullseye is by far my favorite Daredevil villain. If for some reason we were to get a rebooted Daredevil movie, I would definitely rather see Bullseye as the main villain than Kingpin, at least for now. All throughout the movie, we would get flashbacks to Matt's youth. We see him get his powers, train with his father, and we of course see his father get killed by Roscoe Sweeney, the Fixer. This leads into a flashback where a slightly older Matt drops the line about asking forgiveness for what he's about to do, and then suits up in his black suit for the first time to kill Roscoe Sweeney. The guilt of that action would plague Matt throughout the film. We would get scenes of him watching over the Sweeney family, who are financially struggling after the death of Roscoe. He leaves groceries at their door as a way of helping, and one day is caught by the mother, who asks if he's an angel. Melvin would eventually create the classic red suit and dub him Daredevil, a name and costume that Matt accepts because it reminds him of when his father talked about the Murdock curse, saying that all the men had the devil in them. Melvin thought it was just a fun way to play off the Devil of Hell's Kitchen gimmick, but Matt dresses up as the devil because he believes he doesn't deserve God. In the final act, Bullseye reveals that he has no personal connection to Melvin. In fact, he doesn't know or care who he is. Bullseye was hired by the Maggia, a powerful criminal organization, to bring him in after Melvin witnessed one of their higher-ups commit a murder. He was never supposed to kill the men, women, and children at the apartment complex. He claims that he just wanted to have some fun. Bullseye then kills both Melvin and Karen Page, which Karen is kind of fridged in this, to be honest, but I did write this entire script in one night when I was 15 years old, so cut me some slack. Okay, this leads a rage-fueled Matt to chase him down, he ultimately finds him inside of a church. A brutal fight ensues between Daredevil and Bullseye that eventually leads to the roof of the church during a thunderstorm. Matt gains the upper hand and is about to kill Bullseye, but decides that his fate is up to the hands of God. Bullseye rises up to attack him again, but slips off the roof, breaking his spine and paralyzing himself. The film concludes with an adaptation of Frank Miller's excellent Daredevil 191. Matt breaks into Bullseye's hospital room and plays a non-consensual game of Russian roulette with him. During the game, Daredevil explains that Roscoe Sweeney's youngest son, Chucky, saw their fight on TV. Chucky became obsessed, seeing that Red Devil roam the streets, violently beating criminals. Chucky didn't know if this devil meant good, like the mysterious angel who would leave groceries at his door, or if he was truly demonic, like his father. But Chucky did know that a part of the devil would always be a part of him, whether it be from witnessing the vigilante or inheriting the sins of his father. Matt says that Chucky brought a .38 caliber revolver to a basketball game, the same gun he's using to play Russian roulette. Nobody was hurt, but that kid's gonna be marked forever. Daredevil then reveals that there aren't any bullets in the gun. He won't continue the cycle any longer. The two of them are stuck with each other. In the post-credit scene, an FBI agent interrogates Frank Castle, who asks for a lawyer. I'm not sure who I would want to direct this movie, but for cinematographer, I would love to go with Eigil Brild. He's done movies like The Holdovers and Bruges, and I think it would be really cool to recreate the visual style from Holdovers in this movie. It has kind of like this faux classic film look, and I feel like the stillness and serenity of the shots would be a perfect juxtaposition to Matt's inner conflict and the violence throughout the film. If I did have to pick a director though, I would go with either Johnny FFL, Rodimus Maximus, or Ethan Bix. Those are the 3 newest subscribers to the channel. They're absolute snakes on rakes, and if you want to be like them instead of it being a tree, subscribe for a shout out in the next video. Alright, I know that was long, but it's because I already had a full script for it. The next ones aren't going to be as drawn out. Alright, I'm just trolling. We're not actually talking about this. If you've been following the channel, you know that this Spider-Man movie has been a whole thing. And to be completely honest, I might drop the screenplay at some point, but I will never cover this plot until it's an actual full-fledged movie. I know that sounds unrealistic, but in my mind, I will 100% become a filmmaker. Although even if I do, I highly doubt Sony or Marvel would let this script be adapted. We don't have to worry about that right now though. This isn't the only project I'm not going to fully cover today. Overall, this street level MCU would have 13 projects, but I'm only going to cover 6 because I don't have full ideas for all of them, and the video would be too long. The 7 projects I'm not going to cover are the 3 Spider-Man movies, Jessica Jones, a Heroes for Hire show, Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu, and a Hawkeye show. Alright, on to the real second project. Daredevil Repentance is obviously the sequel to Daredevil Judgment Day. Repentance would follow Nelson and Murdock taking on their next client, Frank Castle. Matt's arc in the previous movie would make the relationship between Daredevil and the Punisher just that much more intense, and this would kind of act as a part 2 to Judgment Day. The themes from the last one would carry over, and we would further explore how Matt feels plagued by sin. Frank would be waging war on the Maggia, as they were the group responsible for the death of his family. Matt is also investigating the Maggia after Bullseye brought them to light. This movie would mainly focus on a power imbalance within the Maggia, leading to a gang war between the 3 factions. The Manfredi family, led by Silvermane, he's like a cold and clinical drug lord. The Lorenzini family, led by Hammerhead, who is like your classic Godfather-style mobster. And finally, the Nefaria family, led by Madame Mask, who feels more modern and corporately evil. They would all be fighting for full control over the Empire. Frank would eventually be convicted and sent to prison, and when he arrives, he learns that he's locked up in the same facility as Bullseye, who had part in the murder of his family. This leads to a gigantic prison-wide breakout as Frank attempts to kill Bullseye. Daredevil shows up, and it all culminates in a one-shot action scene across the prison featuring Daredevil, Bullseye, the Punisher, and hundreds of inmates. Both Bullseye and the Punisher end up escaping. At the end of the movie, it's revealed that all the major characters in the film represent one of the 7 deadly sins plaguing Matt's mind. Punisher is wrath, Bullseye is envy, characterized by his obsession with Daredevil, Hammerhead is pride, Madame Mask is greed, Silvermane is gluttony, not in the fat ass way, he's just obsessed with more life and more power. Foggy is sloth, he believes in the safe path and chooses not to act when action is needed, so basically he's just a bee in a tree. And Daredevil is lust because he's a pervert. No, I'm trolling. This version of lust isn't sexual. Matt craves and lusts after the thought of being Daredevil. In the last movie, he felt as if, instead of helping, Daredevil was contributing to the cycle of violence, but he decides not to quit. Not because he believes that Daredevil is needed, but because deep down he secretly craves it. The final battle would simultaneously take place inside Matt's mind and in the real world. We cut between Matt fighting each of the 7 deadly sins, and Frank tearing through the Maggia. Towards the end of the battle, Frank spots one of the children in the Manfredi family caught in the crossfire. Having flashbacks of his kids, he gives up on the fight to save the child. By the end, the Maggia would fall and Matt would break free of the craving and decide to hang up the horns. In the post-credit scene though, we get our first appearance of Wilson Fisk, learning that after the Maggia's fall after the power vacuum in New York, he's stepping up to become the new Kingpin of Crime. This leads into our next film, The Punisher. This would follow Frank Castle on the run after the events of Repentance. The main villains would be the Vigilante Squad, 3 killers inspired by Frank, the Holy, a priest who kills people that confess to him, the Elite, a millionaire who kills people he considers to be quote-unquote bad in the neighborhood he owns, and Mr. Payback, who goes after companies that commit white-collar crimes. This forces Frank to step away from his usual role of fighting basic crime bosses and criminals, and instead have to face people just like him. Or not just like him, because he isn't as crazy as the Vigilante Squad, but you know what I mean. My pick for the director would might be a more shocking one. It would be Paul Thomas Anderson, which may be on the bolder side because he isn't specifically known for action, but he can definitely handle it as we see in one battle after another. My other pick would have been Chad Stahelski, the director of the John Wick movies, but I feel like this universe leans less towards the dumb fun side of action and tries to tell a meaningful story, so I ended up going with PTA. This would be much more of a classic Moon Knight story than the Disney Plus show was. We get all 3 personalities, including Jake Lockley, from the start. We get Frenchie and Marlene, and Bushman is the main villain. I did like the Moon Knight show, but it disappoints me that this isn't what our cast of characters looked like. I actually wrote out an entire outline for a 3-season Moon Knight show years ago that I was going to use for this, but I couldn't find it. So the reason I included this isn't as much because I had a great idea for the plot. It was more just I wanted to mention how cool I think it would be to see a Moon Knight movie directed by Denis Villeneuve. Imagine a movie that's half Sicario for the grounded scenes and half Dune for the mythological, outlandish, crazy Moon Knight stuff. This would be by far the most out there project in the universe, but I think it would be absolutely sick. The penultimate film we're going to talk about is Daredevil Consecration. After Wilson Fisk makes his come up as the Kingpin of Crime and runs for mayor of New York, Matt realizes that the city does need Daredevil. This time though, he isn't coming back out of addiction or anger. He's coming back because he realizes that he can truly be a symbol to end the cycle of violence instead of continuing it. He's redefining Daredevil as something sacred and aligning it with his faith instead of conflicting with it, hence the title Consecration. The film ends on a cliffhanger with Matt failing to beat Kingpin and Fisk winning the mayoral election. Our final film is Marvel Knights, which was act as the Avengers or Defenders of this universe. And I know some of you may think this, so I'm just going to clear it up. The Marvel Knights are Daredevil's team of vigilantes in the comics. Get your ball knowledge up. This movie would pretty much be Born Again Season 2. After Kingpin becomes mayor and outlaws vigilantes, Matt assembles a team to take down his empire. This team consists of himself, obviously, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Punisher, Moon Knight, Hawkeye, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Man. At the end of the movie, they defeat Kingpin after Jessica Jones uses her investigative work to expose Fisk to the public, getting him removed from office and sent to prison. Why they need to hold him to do that? They don't. Things are just cooler with Spider-Man. In the post-credit scene, Elektra appears and visits Matt, teasing the hand and revealing that this is just volume 1 of the universe. This would be split up into volumes instead of phases or chapters, which I just like better because volumes are what they actually use in the comics to split up major storylines and creative teams. That's all I got for today. If you enjoyed, it would genuinely mean a lot if you subscribed. I truly believe that I can grow this channel into something special, but I need y'all's help to do so. Also, please consider joining the Patreon. I hate asking people for money, but I'm not able to make anything off of these videos, and for just like $2 a month, you'll be able to watch stuff like a week early. I'm pretty sure that's it though. Be a snake on a rake. Bye, I love you.